welcome to my channel on the best of fantasy. This is the week that was, and I have had a really lovely time the last couple weeks because I've been doing the week that was on a fortnightly basis, but that's okay, I think, right? When there's news, I deliver it, so here I am, and I have had a really great time on the channel. Had a chat with the author Von Roycroft on his debut novel, The Severing Sun, which is book one of the Sundered Nation trilogy. And this is what I live for on this channel. I really enjoy talking with authors and other creators and having these in-depth discussions about the stories we love. And it's really fun to get the insights from an author. I feel it is a lot of fun to get insights from an author about their sources of inspiration, their influences, what goes into some of the ingredients, at least, that go into the making of this story, this novel, their baby. And it's just really cool to get a sense of some of that. And at the same time, there are these unknowns, these factors that no one can really put their finger on, things that where the story just sort of tells you what to do sometimes. Anyone who's written, I think, can relate to that. Sometimes the story just takes you places you never could anticipate. So that's also, a kind of X factor involved in the writing of a story. But I think we can always take a look at some of the influences and sort of tease them out and see where they are and that sort of thing. So I love that question. I know some authors are tired of being asked about their influences, but I love hearing about that sort of thing. And we had a good time talking about some spoilers as well from The Severing Sun. So it was a really great conversation with Vaughn. He's just a wonderful human being, wonderful person to know here on this platform. I also did a discussion of the darkness that comes before book one of The Prince of Nothing. And I had a great time chatting about the darkness that comes before with Jimmy and Joanna and Raph. And this is a book that, let me tell you, it is conducive to some really great discussion. And it doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with where you think the book is going. There's some really great thematic work in there, some important issues, some just topics that are fun to talk about too. Such as, do we have any free will at all? One of those topics where you don't have an answer, but you can go round and round in circles, and yet somehow it is just a fascinating conversation to have. So that was a good time, I think, had by all, and we had some debate on the book and the merits of certain directions, choices that R. Scott Baker made. But it is a series that I just think that you will find, if you read these books, there's just a lot of meat there. There's a lot to talk about, and I am glad that I read The Darkness That Comes Before. I'm looking forward to continuing in the Prince of Nothing trilogy, and most likely the entire Second Apocalypse series, so we'll see about that. I also did a review of Sons of Darkness, which is a self-published book by the author Gaurav Mohanty, and I had a great time reading this book. It was a real pleasure. I enjoyed especially its grounding in the incredible epic, one of the greatest stories ever told, if not the greatest, the Mahabharata. And he also has some very clear influences there from modern fantasy, particularly Joe Abercrombie, George R. R. Martin, and Stephen Erickson. And I love those authors too. So it was a really interesting experience for me to read his book and to see where he has taken the original epic and done his own thing. He's put his own stamp on the story. It's a reinterpretation, definitely wrestling with some important themes such as social hierarchy and the place of women in society and other such things. So I had a good time reviewing that one. But that review was no longer on my channel, and that is at the request of Gaurav Mohanty, the author, because he is trying to renegotiate. He's trying to actually get, I think, a new publisher is what the deal is. And so when he and I were chatting together, he simply asked if I would be willing to take the review down temporarily, and so that is what I did. and I wish him all the best in finding a new publisher and one that will give him the deal he deserves. So, what else are we doing here? I had a wonderful time chatting with Matt from Matt on Books for Dear Dr. Fantasy, and it was something that I was very much looking forward to for a while, having that conversation with Matt, and we had a great time talking about all kinds of different fantasy stories. We are both Lord of the Rings dudes who grew up on Tolkien and later in life came to discover Malazan. And so that is a cool thing that we have in common already. And he's got a lot of talent, a lot of cool things to say. Just a fun guy to hang out with too. So I had a really fun time on that episode of Dear Dr. Fantasy. And I put out a video on my favorite reads since I started this channel. And that was a lot of fun to make, I must say. It was great to look back not only on the books that I had read, but on the conversations that I had had with my friends here on this platform, discussing those stories and coming to love them even more as a result of those interactions, the insights that I gained from my friends. It's really what this is all about. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of those lovely people out there and to all of you who've left comments and watched my videos over these 2.5+ years. It's been a really incredible journey, and I wanted to just acknowledge that with that video and take stock in all the tremendously wonderful stories that I have encountered because of becoming involved here. Because a lot of those books I never would have read on my own. I wouldn't have heard of probably. So it was a very, very smart thing of me to do. One of my better decisions in life was to start a YouTube channel dedicated to my quest to find the best of fantasy. And I also had some great discussions elsewhere on YouTube. I was in a discussion with Murphy Napier, continuing our discussions of Vinland Saga, Book 7. Our discussion of that particular installment appeared on Murphy's channel, and it was a really very satisfying end to Arc 2 of Vinland Saga. The first 2 arcs were just wonderful, tremendous stuff. I enjoyed them immensely, and have I'm still a bit surprised just how much I'm enjoying my first taste of manga. And more than a taste now, I'm well into Vinland Saga and enjoying it very much. And I anticipated that I would like it, but I didn't realize how much I would love it. So this has been a very positive journey for me so far. And I was also elsewhere on Joanna's channel involved in a discussion on Sons of Darkness, the book that I reviewed by Gaurav Mohanty, who was also in the chat, and joined by Anita and Angie. And it was a really great discussion of his story. So I really do hope that he will find the publisher he's looking for, because it was a great discussion on Joanna's channel. I'm not sure if that video is still up or not, but hopefully you got to see it, because it was the first part was spoiler free, and we did get really into the spoilers later on. So, and what else? Well, what am I reading now, everyone? Well, let's see here. I have finished, speaking of Vinland Saga, I finished books 8 and 9. So yes, I have embarked on Arc 3 in Vinland Saga, and Murphy and I are... Oh, I was holding that upside down. I'm still not quite used to the right to left thing, but I am okay when I'm reading them. That is not a problem. I feel like an old pro now reading right to left. Not a problem. But sometimes I still hold the books upside down. That confuses me a bit, but that's okay. So yeah, I'm enjoying Arc 3. Actually, I've heard some people don't like Arc 3 as much as the first 2 arcs. But I'm actually enjoying it just as much, I would say, as the first 2 arcs. So far, I've gotten these 2 books. I believe I have 3 more to go, and 2 and some change at least, to finish Arc 3. And I love it. I love the fact that we have 2 new female characters that are central and important to the story. And I think that Yukimura has moved on to a slightly different theme that he's exploring, which is the place of women in that particular society and the roles that they are constricted to or can break out of. So I like that a lot. I love how Yukimura is an explorer of themes. He does a great job of weaving them into his story. And he does it through the dialogue and through the illustrations and the symbolism of a lot of the objects. There are certain objects that take on real weight and importance in the story. So I love what he's done here, and it may be that there's slightly less of the action and the violence that characterized probably the first arc the most. I think that the second arc had a lot less of it, in fact, as well. But I'm perfectly fine with that. I have no problems with that at all. To me, the story should be, yes, exciting and fun, but also a vehicle for exploring what it is to be a human being and our struggles and that sort of thing. And he is definitely doing a great job with that. So, what else am I doing? Well, I am in the midst of this big chunk of a book right here, Stephen King's The Dark Tower, Book 7. And I am loving this book very much. I am very, very pleased at how I'm finding the end of this tremendous series. I've enjoyed every single book in the Dark Tower series. I also already read Wind Through the Keyhole, so this is kind of the 8th book, I guess, of Stephen King's. Yes, it's the 8th book of his that I've read, and he has never disappointed me in this series. And I know I've remarked on it many times that the fans of Stephen King and even fans of Dark Tower split when it comes to especially the last couple books. And I knew when I read Song of Susanna, well, I didn't know, but I was pretty sure that I was going to really love the 7th book if it was anything like Book 6. Of course, it's a lot bigger. But I think he sets up Book 7 in some important ways in Book 6 in Song of Susanna. So I am not surprised to find that I am thoroughly enjoying, so far anyway. I don't know. I don't see how he could go wrong at this point. I love where he's taking the story. And I love the fact that I am continually surprised by the story. Every single book has been different. And I like that. I really like that a lot. The unpredictability of these books is definitely one of the features I've enjoyed a lot. And each one is different from the last, but they're all quirky in their own way. And I love his voice. King has a really great, I think he really I haven't read his other stuff yet, so I don't know if this is true in his other writing, but he has a very distinct voice. And I think he's just sort of let it all out here in terms of his voice in the Dark Tower series, with the kind of slangy dialogue, and it's very distinct. People who love the series, who know the series, are always quoting from it. And, like thank you, Sai, and that sort of thing. So, long days and pleasant nights, and it's very distinct in that way. And it's part of the fun of the series. But it also is a series that does some serious thematic exploration. And there are some really wonderful characters, beloved characters in here as well. So it's got everything going for it, in my opinion. And after that, I'm going to be reading some books that I've been really anticipating. One is A Touch of Light, so that is immediately after I finish Dark Tower. And I'm very much looking forward to Tiago Abdallah's novel here, the self-published novel, continuing my efforts to read the books of self-published fantasy authors, which has been an incredibly rewarding experience for me. And then I will be reading R. Scott Baker's The Warrior Prophet, Book 2 in the Prince of Nothing trilogy. And this is something I am actually finding myself more and more excited. I am feeling some anticipation building up for this read because I really did get a lot out of the first one. It's a depressing story. It's a very, very bleak story so far, and I don't expect that to change. But I just love how excellent Baker is as a writer and how he makes me think. And sometimes it's good to have a read like that, I feel, for me anyway. So, but it might be a bit heavy for some readers, and I can respect that too. But I'm really looking forward to getting to that one. And after that, I plan to read Holy Sister by Mark Lawrence, Book 3 of the Book of the Ancestor trilogy. And I, again, anticipate that I'm going to love this book. I am excited to finish another Mark Lawrence trilogy and see how he ends this. I've loved getting to know Nona and her friends in here, and I've said it a couple times recently, but it bears repeating. Lawrence is a brilliant writer at exploring the theme of friendship, and it is central to Book of the Ancestor. Upcoming, I have some really fun stuff. Some episodes of Dear Dr. Fantasy. One is already recorded. I'll be recording another, maybe while you're watching this video even. And I have a few others lined up until the end of the year. And I also will be talking about Vinland Saga, books 8 and 9, which I've already read with Murphy. Those two chats are scheduled, so I'm really excited for those. And Realm of the Elderlings. I am finally going to be finishing the Realm of the Elderlings. I had planned to reread the Farseer trilogy and also Lifeship Traders, which I've already read. But I think I'm just going to have to go right into the third trilogy in Realm of the Elderlings, Tawny Man. And I'm going to start that at the beginning of the year. And the reason being that I was invited by Mike over at Mike's Book Reviews to participate in a discussion in which Scott, the Bald Booktuber, is also participating, and Madison is going to be there, and Jake Bishop. And so I could not say no to that invitation, and I needed an excuse to get going in Realm of the Elderlings. I really do want to finish that. That is probably the series that I most want to finish at this point. And so I'm glad to have a reason to go on, and I won't have time to reread the Farseer trilogy before we chat on that, because we're going to have a chat fairly soon on Farseer, the 5 of us. And then another chat shortly after that on Lifeship Traders, that's fresh enough in my memory. So I was even debating whether I needed to reread Lifeship Traders anyway, because I only read it a couple years ago. And then we'll be moving on early in 2023, probably in March or so, to the Tawny Man trilogy. And that is what I'm really excited to do, and to chat with those lovely people about Realm of the Elderlings, and to finish Realm of the Elderlings in 2023. So that's good news. And what else am I up to here? Well, I will be participating in another Prince of Nothing discussion, book 2, the one I just held up a moment ago, The Warrior Prophet, and that's going to be on Joanna's channel. So Jimmy and Raph and myself, we're going to be going to her channel this time to continue our discussion of the Prince of Nothing trilogy. So that I am also really anticipating is going to be a great discussion, as the first was. And I also am planning a Dark Tower palaver. I have reached out to the quartet and asked for a date, and hopefully that will pan out. And I am so excited to be talking with Sarah and Chaz and Mike, if they can all make it once again, for a palaver, a Dark Tower palaver, this time on the entire series. And we will be joined by Ursi for this discussion. And I think I'll begin it with some non-spoiler assessments, but we're going to get hot and heavy into the spoilers for the Dark Tower series discussion. And we're just going to go for it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So all you Dark Tower junkies out there, I hope you will show up for that one. And what else is going on here? Oh, the chat. I mentioned already this one, and I'm really, really excited for it. I think it's going to be fascinating over on Do Unicorns Read? That is Angela's channel. And this is going to be a discussion on violence in fantasy and what purposes it might serve. That discussion had tentatively been scheduled, but it's been slightly postponed, but it will be happening. And I am so interested in having this discussion. So I will keep you updated on that one when I know when it's going to happen. Well, and that's about it. That's all I think I'm up to for the moment. Life is busy. The semester is rapidly coming to its very, very, very busy close. And I am very much anticipating the end of the semester when I will be tweaking my third book a little bit more, doing a little editing. And I'm very excited about that. And I will, of course, keep you updated if I have any book news. Nothing to report at the moment. So, yeah, nothing going on there. But I will certainly keep you guys updated if I do hear something. That's it from me for now. Until next time.